Welcome back to the Deep Dive, the place where we dig into complex ideas and, hopefully, pull out some crystal clear insights.
I feel you.
Today, we are putting on our psychological goggles. We're looking at human behavior and specifically this idea of understanding people fast, like a universal translator for personality.
It's a great way to put it. And our source for this is a fantastic workshop by a guy named Omar Alandajani, all about the DISC personality method.
DISC. Okay.
Yeah, and he's really clear right from the start. This isn't just theory for a textbook. The whole point is to actually change how you see yourself and, maybe more importantly, how you deal with everyone else.
So the mission is basically to crack the code, to pull the core insights out of this DISC system, which people call a kind of global language for behavior.
Exactly. The goal is to be able to quickly diagnose your own strengths, for sure, but also to understand what makes the people around you kick.
And what's the background of the source here? Who is Omar Alandajani?
It's actually a really interesting mix. He has a master's in electrical engineering from 2004, spent 17 years as a lecturer in very technical, structured fields.
So a very analytical mind.
Very.
Yeah.
And then he pivoted completely. He dove into leadership, personality analysis, and these continuous improvement systems like Kaizen. So he brings this engineer's mindset to the very fluid world of human behavior.
Which is a fascinating combination. Okay, so where do we start? Before we even get to the letters, the D, I, S, and C, he lays out a foundation, right? An analogy.
He does. He frames the whole idea of personal growth like a doctor's visit. There are 3 stages.
Okay.
The first is diagnosis. Simple enough. You use the tools assessments like DISC or just self-reflection to figure out what's really going on.
Right, to understand the problem, then what?
Stage 2 is prescription.
Mm-hmm.
So based on the diagnosis, you figure out the remedy, the right course of action.
That seems like the easy part. You read a book, you take a test, you know what you're supposed to do.
Exactly. And that's his whole point. Most people fail at stage 3, which is application.
The actual doing.
The actual doing. He says, look, without consistent hard work, the application, the diagnosis, and the prescription are totally useless. This deep dive, we can give you the diagnosis, we can give you the prescription, but the real work, that's on you.
And that ties into another analogy he uses, doesn't it? The whole blind men and the elephant story.
It does, yeah. You know, the one, the men feel different parts of the elephant, the tusk, the tail, the leg.
And they all think it's a different thing. A snake, a rope, a tree. They're all right, but they're all wrong.
Exactly. He connects seeing the whole elephant to what he calls intellectual maturity. He has this amazing phrase. He says, the more knowledge increases, the less denial there is.
Wow, say that again.
The more knowledge increases, the less denial there is. Basically, maturity is being able to see the whole picture, to accept that your little piece of the truth isn't the only truth.
I love that. Okay, so from there, he talks about the one concept that he says completely changed his life, his career. He learned it from his mentor.
Yeah, his mentor, Eng Abdulbasit Al-Turkestani. And this is the core philosophy. It's a quote, and he says it's crucial. If you work on your weaknesses, you will only invite failure. But if you focus on your strengths, you will become a star.
Okay, hold on. I have to push back on that a bit. I mean, we're always told to work on our weak points, to become more well-rounded. Why does he say that invites failure?
It sounds wrong, doesn't it?
Right.
But his logic is all about energy. Think about it. If you spend, say, 80% of your effort just to raise a skill from a D grade to a C grade.
You've burned all that energy just to be mediocre.
Just to be mediocre, it's something you probably hate doing anyway. He argues that energy is so much better spent taking something you're already great at an A-level strength and pushing it to an A++.
You're not fighting against your own nature. You're leaning into it.
You've got it. The work feels easier, you get better faster, and you actually enjoy it. And for him, you know, the guy with the engineering background, this was a revelation.
He realized all the administrative stuff, the management tasks.
They were his weaknesses.
Yeah.
They drained him. His real strength, his star quality, was in training, in connecting with people, presenting ideas.
So the system didn't tell him to get better at paperwork.
No, it told him to stop doing paperwork,
Yeah.
to abandon it and go all in on his strengths. That's the real power of the diagnosis.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. So with that philosophy in mind, let's get into the framework itself. What is DISC?
Right. So DISC is an acronym for 4 behavioral styles: dominance, influence, steadiness, and conscientiousness. It comes from the work of Dr. William Moulton Marston way back in 1928.
And he was a fascinating character, wasn't he? He also helped invent the lie detector and created Wonder Woman.
He did,
Yeah.
which kind of makes sense when you think about it. He was obsessed with power, influence, and human psychology. His whole framework is built on two simple axes.
Let's start with the first one, the vertical axis. This is the pace of action.
Yep. How fast you move. At the top, you have the fast-paced style. The quick rhythm. These are your high-energy, decisive people. They love change, take risks, talk fast.
The person who finishes their lunch in 5 minutes and is already planning the next thing.
That's them. They change their phone every year. They decide to move house on a whim. Speed is everything.
In the bottom half.
That's the moderate-paced or deliberate rhythm. These are the cautious, methodical folks. They prefer stability. They make decisions slowly because they want to get it right.
This is the person who's lived in the same house for 12 years, not because they have to, but because they like it.
Exactly. The stability is the prize. So that's the vertical axis. Now we add the horizontal one, the area of focus.
And this is about tasks versus people, right?
Correct. On the left side, you have task-oriented. Their world is about logic, data, results. They can seem a bit cold, but it's because the quality of the work is what matters most, not how everyone feels about it.
And the right side is people-oriented.
All about relationships, empathy, support, harmony. They're generally easier to deal with because they're tuned into the emotional frequency of a room.
So when you cross these two axes, pace and focus, you get the 4 quadrants, D, I, S, and C. Let's start in that top left corner, fast-paced and task-oriented.
That gives us D for dominance. Their driver is achievement, winning. They hate being controlled and they love a good challenge. They actually enjoy competition.
What are they afraid of?
Being taken advantage of, losing control, looking weak. That's why they're always pushing. The ideal role for them is something like a project manager or CEO, someone who has to make tough, fast calls.
Got it. Now let's slide over to the top right. Still fast-paced, but now people-oriented.
That's I for influence. These people are driven by social recognition and enthusiasm. They're amazing at influencing crowds, building huge networks, usually with a lot of charisma and humor.
And their big fear?
Social rejection, being adored. They need to be liked and appreciated. This makes them perfect for roles in training, public speaking, sales, anywhere they need to generate excitement.
Okay, now let's drop down to the bottom right. We're slowing down the pace now, so it's moderate paced, but still people-oriented.
And that's S for steadiness. The S style is all about stability and support. They are loyal, methodical, great listeners. The source called them the affectionate chest. They are the glue that holds a team together.
But there's a risk there, right?
A huge risk. Their biggest fear is letting people down or causing conflict. So they have a really hard time saying no. They can get exploited easily because they'll drop everything to help someone else.
So a good role for them would be something like counseling or mediation.
Perfect for it. Okay, last quadrant, bottom left. Moderate-paced and task-oriented.
This is C for conscientiousness.
The C style is motivated by logic, accuracy, quality. They love details and precision. They prefer to work alone so they can get it right. This is the person who, before a meeting, needs to know the exact brand of coffee and the precise number of sugar grams.
And their fear is what? Being wrong.
Being wrong or being criticized for sloppy work. They need data. They avoid ambiguity. So you find them in roles like financial auditing, quality control, engineering, anywhere that precision is king.
So there you have it, the 4 types. And the source is very clear that no style is good or bad.
Not at all. They just are. And the real secret, the key to success, is what he calls social intelligence.
It's the application part again.
It is. It's not about changing who you are. It's about adjusting how you communicate to match the person you're talking to.
So if you're talking to a D type,
be quick, be direct, get to the bottom line, don't bring feelings or fluff. With a C, on the other hand, you have to bring all the data, be prepared for detailed questions.
And with an I or an S,
you have to start with a relationship, ask about their weekend, build a connection first. If you just jump straight to the task, you'll lose them.
He used a really powerful example of how this plays out in a marriage, didn't he? The D versus the S.
Oh, it's the classic conflict. Imagine a D husband. He's driven by new challenges. He sees the house they live in and thinks, we can do better. Let's sell it, buy a fixer-upper, and make a profit. He loves that kind of big, fast change.
But his S-wife values security, stability.
Exactly. She wants to stay in that same house for 20 years. She knows the neighbors. She loves the routine. For her, change is a threat.
And neither one of them is wrong. They're just operating from completely different core values.
Totally. And the amazing insight from the source is that these differences are actually necessary. You need both forces in a family. You need one parent pushing for growth and another providing that stable, supportive base. It creates balance, even if it feels like conflict.
And of course, no one is 100% one single letter. We're all a mix.
Right, you might be a strong D, but have some I traits too. You're somewhere on the wheel, not just stuck in a corner. But the most incredible part of this is the idea of an acquired style.
This is the CEO's story.
This is the CEO story. So this CEO takes the test, and his results come back. His core natural style is a deep C, conscientious, detailed, analytical, prefers to be alone.
But that's not how he acts as a leader.
Not at all. In his job, he's a classic D&I. He's decisive, commanding, influential, charismatic.
So he's basically learned to wear masks.
He's mastered it. It shows an incredibly high level of social skill. He hasn't changed his core C personality, but he's learned how to perform as a D or an I when the situation requires it. It takes a ton of energy, but it's what makes him effective.
That is true relational intelligence. The ability to flex your style to meet the moment.
It's the highest form of application. You aren't a prisoner of your natural style. You choose your behavior for a strategic purpose.
So to wrap this all up, the big takeaway is, first, figure out your own style. Know your strengths so you can find the right place for you to become a star.
Right. And second, understand the other styles so you can communicate effectively and navigate relationships without just, constantly getting into conflicts that you don't even understand.
It's a powerful blueprint.
It is. And as we finish up, here's a final thought the speaker left for us to chew on. He suggests that for most people, their core behavioral pattern kind of cements itself around age 30. It becomes stable.
Interesting.
So the question for you to think about is, looking back at your own life, do you see that? Do you see your core style becoming more consistent after 30? And how much of your daily energy is spent just trying to maintain that stability versus how much is spent flexing into other styles?
That is a great question for a long walk. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the mechanics of human behavior.
Until next time.